What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can improve their footwork versus a press coverage DB and some different releases that you can use off the line. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope we can teach you a few new things to improve your overall skills at the wide receiver position. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to know the exact drills you should be doing to improve your press releases, your route running, your hands, your ability to make people miss, check out that very first link in the description below for our 8-week wide receiver on-field workouts schedule. It's an 8-week daily training schedule for wide receiver on-field drills and training. We map out everything with sets and reps, and we give a video example of each exercise. So check out that very first link below if interested, fellas. Let's get started. So this first clip here is Garrett Wilson's first touchdown as a New York Jet, first touchdown in the NFL, and this is a great press release versus an inside shade press coverage DB on the goal line. So let's talk about the footwork that you need to get separation here. So let's play at full speed. So Wilson does a great job being patient, throwing to the inside, threatening to the inside, then being able to win on that fade ball. So when we come off here, and you got a DB who's lined up inside shade. Why is he inside shade in the first place? He's inside shade to protect the inside. So we're on the goal line. We're in the red zone. Good chance that you will see man coverage no matter what level of football you play, whether that's youth all the way up to college ball. So we have to be able to know how to beat this. Now, if my game plan is, I'm just going to step on the DB's toes, get him to backpedal, and then take off to the fade, that's not going to work in this situation. Because you got to know this about a DB on the goal line. He is never going to backpedal. Because if he just backpedals, what's that's going to give up? It's going to give up the slant. His sole purpose being inside shade is to not give up the slant. So my main goal needs to be I want to threaten him vertically, try to step outside of his frame to get him to move so I could get separation on that fade. So that's what Wilson does. So you see how off the line here, he attacks him. He attacks that leverage. He's patient. He's keeping his feet underneath his frame. To improve your releases and get more explosive releases, you have to operate with your feet inside of your frame. A lot of wide receivers, what they'll do is they'll go to attack a DB and their base gets super wide. Their feet get outside of their frame. You will not have any power there. You will not be able to threaten and actually step outside of this DB's frame because the foot's essentially already outside of his frame. It's going to be a very weak step. So you see when Garrett Wilson decides to throw this jab to the inside or this move to the inside, he is stepping outside the frame, his hips, his shoulders. That is what's going to get you open against a press coverage DB. Because one, this step actually threatens. That step actually makes it look like he's going to the inside. Two, he's not just leaning with his head and shoulders. You see a lot of people teach that these days, and there are times for it. Like there's a split release or you're doing something quick off the line and you got a guy right in your face. Yes. But you not only have to sell with your head and shoulders, you got to sell with your hips. Because what's a disciplined DB supposed to be watching? Your hips. So when you guys make any kind of throw off the line, any kind of footwork, any kind of release, you have to make sure that we are threatening vertically, stepping outside the frame of the DB, and my hips and my shoulders are selling this move. That is what will get that DB to bite or at least hold the leverage because that looks like a slant. And when you can make it look like a slant, that can set up that fade and get me some separation, especially on the goal line when we know that DB is not going to backpedal. He's going to sit right there. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So fellas, first tip to improve that footwork, especially off the line. You have to sell with those hips and shoulders as well, but let's step outside of that DB's frame because that's what threatens him. Let's play it again one more time. Great job by Wilson attacking, being patient, and then threatening that DB outside of his frame to win on that goal line fade. All right, so now we're going to be looking at a slide release here. So this is going to be a bad example of the slide release. This is not the greatest use of like attacking the DB vertically, I guess you could say, as we talked about in the last clip. And then we're going to show a positive example of that big touchdown that Rashad Bateman had against the, I believe they were playing the Dolphins, against the Dolphins this past Sunday. So let's play this full speed. So this slide release is not the greatest showcase of footwork off the line because it is very lateral. So it kind of ties into that release from Garrett Wilson that we talked about. So to get a DB to move, to get him to bite, to get him to jump, to get him to move off his platform, if you will, you actually have to threaten him off the platform. Right? So if I'm trying to threaten this DB, like let's say I'm trying to get him to jump outside, I actually have to threaten him outside by stepping there. Now, a slide release is one of those releases where you do it in the right situation. You do it when it's a longer developing play. Maybe it's play action, maybe it's, an RPO, maybe you're not the first read on the play. That's when you'd want to do this because there are a lot of other ways you can use this release. But this release does not attack him vertically. So with your feet, with your footwork off the line, you never want to go, you see the line of scrimmage right here. You never want to operate behind the line of scrimmage because if you slide behind the line of scrimmage, does that threaten this DB whatsoever vertical? No, because you're going lateral. You're not going anywhere. You're not gaining any ground. So when he slides off the line and he does that crossover, right? Because part of the slide release is you slide to the outside, then you hit him with a crossover to try to self-fade. But you see how the step is going lateral, his hips and shoulders aren't moving. Nothing about this says, hey, I'm going to the outside. So a disciplined DB who is watching your hips, trying to read your body language, will not bite. To get a DB to bite, you have to attack him. You have to stretch him vertically to get him to move. So you see when he breaks back on the slant, let's say we even got this DB. Let's say we got him. Let's say maybe we sold the release fine, but we went lateral with the slide. That's not going to get him to bite whatsoever because you still have to get here and you have a big gap between the two of you. He's going to be all over it. He's going to be on your hip, and you're going to have no separation. He'll be able to easily swat that ball away. That comes solely from not being able to attack him vertical. If he would have done this slide release, and he would have gone maybe like here and used this range where he was actually attacking the outside shoulder, maybe there was a threat of him doing this slide and go. Maybe he's done it before in the game. Maybe he hasn't, but still, you have to threaten him. If you don't threaten him, he's not going to move. When we go lateral, DB is not threatened vertical. And that a patient DB will stay on his platform. Maybe we get him to hesitate, but we are giving him an opportunity to recover by not attacking him. We have to stretch that field. Let's play this thing again full speed, and then we will show a positive example of this slide release and how you guys can add it to your bag. Again, not the greatest release, right idea, but let's talk about the better way to do it. So again, this slide release, like I said, when you're doing a slide, it's for longer developing situations, right? It's for play action, it's for RPO, it's for not the first read. You don't want to do this when it's a first read. Like if you have to run a quick slant, you don't want to do this on a quick slant. But to improve this footwork, you see how Lamar Jackson back here, he brought a guy in motion and he's doing a play action fake and then he's going to come back to the slant. So that's the right situation to use this. So let's talk about it. We got the line of scrimmage right here. So when he does this slide, we have to attack vertically. So he attacks off the line, and you see the difference in the slide. You see the difference in the crossover. That is what gets you separation. That's all based on your feet and how you are stretching the field. So when he comes off the line, if he were to just go lateral, especially against inside shade press, this DB is not threatened by that at all. He's just going to stay square and he's just going to stay patient. So when he slides, you watch how he's attacking. He's actually gaining ground. He's actually going at that outside shoulder. That's everything that's going to make the DB work. Just like the very first clip that I talked about. When we want a DB to move off that platform, I want that DB to move outside or I want him to open up the gate, I actually have to attack outside of his frame. I can't stay behind that line of scrimmage because that keeps me inside of his frame. So Bateman goes here. He attacks outside the frame. Now remember, in the last example with CeeDee Lamb, he does that crossover and he goes very lateral, right? So when he makes his move, when he does that crossover, it's a lateral step. Now watch when Bateman decides to do this crossover. It's a vertical step. He's stepping upfield, his hips, his shoulders. That is selling the movement. If you want better footwork off the line, fellas, let's think about stepping outside the DB's frame. Let's think about selling with my upper half, not just leaning with my head and my shoulders. Because you see how this DB opens up his hips. This threatens him. Because, you see guys do it all the time like Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson. They'll hit DBs with that slide and then they just take off and accelerate, right? They'll slide, go on the fade. So if we can slide, use the same tempo, use the same angle, and then be able to throw and sell that fade with my hips and my shoulders, that can get me a lot of separation and I'm able to win on that slant. Remember, slide release, we're using it in longer developing situations, but to improve that footwork, to improve the slide, let's actually go vertical and try to stretch the field and to step outside of his frame. Let's play it again one more time. Great job by Rashad Bateman showcasing what that slide release should look like, how you can attack a DB vertical, and how you can move him off that platform to create plenty of separation. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys as usual. And again, fellas, if you guys would like a 2-month-long wide receiver on-field workout schedule, everything wide receivers should do on the field to improve their route running, press releases, hands, explosiveness, balance, everything. Check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.